Lee, I have a question for you. So let's go just specifically to like say the Leonardo DiCaprio situation where a lot of women are upset because he keeps like predictably dumping women when they turn 25 years old. Yeah. And my question is, that's probably the least kept secret in the world. Like everyone knows that. And yet the women are lining up by the hundreds in order to do that. Of course. And so my question is, are they absolved of responsibility because he has so much power? And is it like, oh my God, of course it's Leonardo DiCaprio. So they should take some blame too for wanting to date older men.
Not wanting to date older men. I think that obviously I just have to scrutinize your moral compass if you're just like, that this guy's going to like turn you over. I mean, get what you can out of it, I guess. But then you're wasting your best childbearing years on a man who's not going to marry you.
Yeah, but that's their problem. That's the girl's problem.
Of course it is. But I'm saying if I were to give advice.
Advice?
Yes, if I were to give these women advice, which is what Michael asked me a personal question. He wants to know my opinion.
Yeah, I just want they're not absolved of responsibility is what I'm saying. Because that's one of the issues that I have with the argument.
I think these women have the wrong priorities, and I think that they're ultimately hurting themselves.
Are they being stupid, Lav?
Yeah, I think that they're being stupid.
Would you tell them you're being a stupid woman?
Yes.
Yeah, see.
I have many friends in LA. I have a friend in LA who broke up a marriage of an older man, and because he was a millionaire. And I was like, you are retarded. You are dumb. You're wasting. Maybe it's not gonna in 5 years. Your life, you're not gonna be as hot. You're not gonna be as whatever. You're not gonna be as wanted, and you're completely fucking your life. You're not preparing for the second half of your life.
Maybe I'm missing it, but what are we saying? Like, what is the negative outcome coming from young women manipulating men? Like, if we're saying like that they're using their beauty and things to get into relationships, these are generally things that men value anyways, and these are things that men want. But what are they using those to do afterwards? Like,
Lav, real quick before you answer. So I want to give like a 5 to 7 minute warning for this topic, so everyone knows before we move on to the next topic. Okay, go ahead, Lav.
This is more so for Michael. I'm asking like what is the negative outcome that we're afraid there? Because with men, we're talking about them using this to like keep them in this relationship. They're able to like get them away from their friends and family and kind of like seclude them so that they don't really know what their options are. Yeah. They're kind of stuck.
Worst case scenario, you just don't get to have sex with a young woman. That's the manipulation.
I don't think women are capable of using their beauty to do those things, whereas men can use their money, their knowledge, their maturity, their their career experience, all of these other things to do those things.
So there are some studies out there that show, they're called, like I said, May December marriages, where it's a much older man with a much younger woman, and in those cases there is there's situations where a man will do a lot of mate guarding in order to keep his girl, but that's because she is of a very high level of attractiveness in comparison to him, and so that whole situation. My whole point about this whole deal is that I don't think one side has the ability to manipulate more than the other. I do understand that the man is going to be more. Have more experience, but that doesn't necessarily make him more manipulative. And so, like going back, like you said before, with the whole situation with Leonardo DiCaprio, he is apparently bad because he has all these 25-year-old. Once the women turn 25, he gets rid of them and goes on to the next one. And by the way, a lot of those women don't come back and complain. They got to date Leonardo DiCaprio from their standpoint.
I think one of the biggest, a big scrutiny, at least of women or feminists who look at the Leonardo DiCaprio situation, is that we should, it is imperative that we influence men to settle down faster, to want families before they turn 50, right? Like, I think it is, it's vain, it's dysgenic, and it's sort of morally corrupt for a man to go his whole life using and turning out women and not creating a family. So that's like a
Wait, is that your argument or the feminist argument?
Well, I think that's like the inherent uncomfortable feeling of most women when they look at the Leonardo DiCaprio situation. Like,
got it.
It is
what feminists are saying that goes against sexual liberation.
You've talked, Andrew, I'm sure that you've talked to retarded feminists. I'm sure that you have talked to genuinely stupid feminists, and I'm sure that there are a lot of feminists who don't agree with the points I just made.
Lee, I don't even know if it's feminist. I think it's just older women who just don't like, because one of the things that happens is there's two parts here. One, we're going to look at what they call the Peter Pan syndrome, where a man continues to See, here's the thing. You're looking at the 50-year-old man and his wealth, and you're like, oh, well, he should have just got married at 32. What if he wasn't wealthy at 32? I can tell you a lot of guys, they become more established later in life,
Of course.
and they had to work really hard to get to that, level of comfortability and wealth. And then all of a sudden they're like, you're selfish for not creating a family as soon as you can. When in reality, like during his early 20s, he had very few options with women. And now he has more because he's finally put on some muscle. He has some gray hair. Like he actually at some point in his life can afford a house, maybe 2 houses, maybe a car, things like that. He has some level of financial freedom. This is the first point in his life where he's actually turned into the 21-year-old hot girl.
I don't think that that's the case with most women. Like Leonardo DiCaprio is actually not at his sexual prime. He's not the hottest he's ever been. He's not the richest he's ever been. So I think in a lot of cases, like with Andrew Tate,
probably is the richest he's ever been. But yeah.
It's a lot of people, maybe now after the new Martin Scorsese movie as well. But, but like for most men, like you're sort of pointing out this dynamic in which like an incel finally becomes attractive. That happens far less frequently than a man who wants to enjoy his prime for as many years as possible.
No, I think the incel is becoming the not the incel. Let's let me use the word incel because I don't like that from a statistical standpoint. Sure. The man who has very few sexual options for whatever reason, and that could actually be the very healthy guy who happens to be just an E3 in the U.S. Army and has been deployed several times. Sure. He has very few options with women. He's stationed at Fort Hood or he's stationed at No Hope Pope or someplace like that where there's just no women around, and then or a guy who like works in an oil derrick in West Texas or one in Alaska. There's just no women around, so that's one section. He's on an incel, but he just doesn't have a lot of options with women, and he's stacking up his money for the part of his 20s and 30s, and then once he gets established and now he wants to go off and play the field, this is the first time for him to do it. I'll tell you, I wasn't married, but I was married to the federal government when I was a U.S. military officer, and that was a period of time in my life where normal traditional dating was not available to me because I lived in Wichita, Kansas, Altus, Oklahoma, and Warner Robins, Georgia. So because of those places, once I got out, now I'm 33 years old. I've got money saved up. I've got a GI Bill, and I'm a retired U.S. Air Force captain. And now I have these options that maybe, a lot of people like back at the church would have been like, why didn't you get married at 25, 26? Sure. And I'm like, because I didn't get to see a hot woman for a long time.
Absolutely. And I think that that's totally, and I think that most people, or at least I keep that in mind, that there are people like that. But also we have to talk about, there are people who come out of the military. You're more likely to beat your wife if you're in the military. So if we have all of these
you're
men,
also more likely to beat your husband if you're a female in the military.
I think what it is you're more likely to get cheated on if you're in the military.
True. No, but if you have a job like that, or even even as a blue collar worker, you are more likely to beat your wife. So I think
the 88% of the military would be blue collar. The enlisted would be blue collar workers.
Yeah. But I'm also saying just like outside of the military, blue collar workers, cops, or construction, like you're more likely to beat your partner. So then, you add an age, and then you're dating an 18-year-old and your ex-military, and I
don't think the military thing has anything to do with it. I think it's
naive. I think that that's worth. I think that there's so many risk factors. This is not the only red flag. I think that if I experience you on a double date with your girlfriend and you're treating her well and she's very happy and I'm friends with her and she's not telling me that you're doing anything weird, no fucking problem. I don't care about your age.
Lab, we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna make that happen.
I don't care. At that point, I don't care about your age difference at all. And in fact, if you're taking care of her, it's very probably advantageous for both.
I just feel like that just would apply to anybody, though. That's the whole problem.
Yes,
Andrew.
I don't think age is the end all be all. I'm just saying it's a
it doesn't even sound like it's a factor. It just sounds like you would just act this way regardless of who it was. If somebody came to you and was like, my husband's beating me, you wouldn't give a shit about the I don't even understand why the age thing is a problem. You know what I mean?
Obviously, if someone came to me and said my husband is beating me, no. But just from not knowing someone and looking at the relationship, I'm gonna feel anxious about it. Is all I'm saying.